off to town to get some transmission fluid. I forgot to get some earlier this week, and today is swap the transmission in the Corolla day. I don't know if this is going to be a fun tinkering day or not. I hope it's tolerable. It's cold, it's windy, the shop is a little tight on space, so I'm probably going to have the tail end of the car half out of the shop. Might have to hose down the dirt outside because the wind's blowing sand in my face just walking around the property. I can only imagine laying down on some cardboard, you know, redneck creepy crawler, to work on this thing. And my body aches, my hip's killing me, and I've got a head cold, which you might be able to hear in my voice. I feel like I got bronchitis coming on. But it's got to get done. So enough whining, off to the store, pull up my bootstraps and get on with the day. So there's our donor trans, a good used one, about 106,000 miles on it. I shopped and shopped and shopped. I'll be scuffing that paint off of there, they're marking. And I almost even went JDM, but then I'd have to change the bell housing and some stuff. And you don't know exactly how many miles are on those. I just had a hard time biting the bullet on it. And they were pretty close to the same price for what I got for this. And this is out of an owned car that was running and driving perfect when it got T-boned. So I have some pretty good faith in this one. We'll get the pan gasket and filter changed, move things around, and drag the Corolla in. There she is, new filter. Oh. Getting ready for the gasket. Most of you watching probably already know how to do all this crap. For those who never have, you really only need a thin smear on here. I got a little overzealous, but one of my fingers is a little numb, so. And all I had in the drawer was the Honda stuff, but it'll work just fine. In fact, even though it's a Corolla, with that Honda stuff, maybe it'll go a little faster. This is a good rubber gasket, but it was rolled up in the box and folded over enough that, long enough, and it didn't want to cooperate too much. And it's a cool day, so sometimes what I like to do is get it in place, throw the bolts in place to kind of hold the gasket where it belongs, and let it tack up for a few minutes before we put it back on. So we'll give this 3 or 4 minutes. It should be enough. And away we go. If you're doing this and it's cold or the gasket's not cooperative, it's only got to stay in place with those little bolts long enough to make sure that the gasket's not going to shift around on you. And then you're good to go. Once your gasket's all good, put all your little guys back in place. These get technically torqued to 69 inch-pounds. And of course you should always crisscross. 69 inch-pounds, or basically snug. Gently snug. I like to do it with one hand. That feels good. If you're going to be technical, 69 inch-pounds. This looks like 69 inch-pounds to me. Had to move the Jeep out of the way and had this beautiful view. I'll get back on you soon, baby. God, I love that truck. Cleaned up enough. Ready and waiting. Ooh, that thing needs a bath. First thing is disconnect the battery, but in this case, I'm taking the battery out so I have a little more elbow room. I got to get that air box out, a little bit of harness, of course the oil cooler lines for the transmission. And then I'm going to come up with something to hang off of the, I don't know, something to hold the engine up. We'll figure that out. Got to get the rims and tires off because you got to pull the CV axles out. One of the first things to getting the axle off is getting the retainer off of here and the nut. And I don't think I've ever done a 2010 or this generation before, but normally this is a little tin guy that slides over. You put a cotter key through it, and it keeps the nut from backing out, theoretically. But this one, it's all one piece. This is one of those guys, which I didn't anticipate. Probably should have looked that up. And that takes a 12.32 millimeter socket. Guess who doesn't have a 12.32 millimeter socket? But the wife is running errands in town, and should be another hour, 2 hours maybe. Yay. She's gonna pick one up for me. So, waiting game. Also, with my back bugging me so much, I hit up Mike, and Mike's gonna swing by and give me a hand. Hopefully we get the axles apart. I'll carry on with the R&R because I don't want to leave this thing half done, half in the shop. So everything's kind of contingent on that socket right now. Transferring parts. Ran into a snag last night and have to order a motor mount. He's hard at work again, people. I wouldn't have been able to get this far without him. Well, as it turns out, it wasn't a 32 millimeter socket. It was a 30. And I had gotten online, because it was kind of hard to measure. The shape of that nut is tapered, so kind of come up with whatever size you wanted if you're just going to try and measure it. So my wife found a 32, brought it home. It was 6-sided, needed a 12 point. So while I worked on some other stuff with Mike's help, she and my daughter ended up running around, got online, checked a lot of parts stores, ended up going to a town south of us about 15, 20 miles, and found back and forth 32. Turns out it was a 30 millimeter socket. She finally found a good 30 millimeter deep 12 point socket, and we managed to get the axles off last night. What a headache. Just one of those things where you're held up for something stupid. And when I looked online, so many sources were saying 32, some were saying 30, most were saying like 9 out of 10, 19 out of 20 were saying 32. It's a 30, at least on this one. So anyway, finally got that handled. And then this morning, here we are Sunday morning now, I did end up leaving the car half done, half out of the shop. Made me uncomfortable, but it worked out. Everything's still here. Nothing got messed with. Then Mike came over today and helped me. He switched a bunch of brackets over and stuff from the old transmission to the donor transmission, and he spent a couple hours helping me line. Took a couple hours because my back's a wreck, but he helped me line a few things up and get it back in the hole and stabbed in place. So now it's just a matter of buttoning things up. One of the things I wanted to do and didn't get to was, even though most folks know how to do this, I was gonna kind of run through on camera, taking the knuckles loose from the struts. It's really easy. You just pull these two bolts out. Spring's captive up here, so you don't have to worry about that thing biting you. And of course, you get the center nut off your axle, tap that loose with a rubber mallet so that it pulls out of the splines. pull these two bolts out and slide the knuckle forward, pull the axle out of the backside, and then you pop it loose from the transmission. Still got the little red cup in there for temporarily to keep debris from getting in there while I work on it. So now it's just buttoning up things like, you can barely see it, that motor mount, trans mount back there. All the nuts and bolts are loosely in place. I've got to reinstall this one. This one right here really needs to be replaced, but I don't have one yet. I won't have it for a couple of days. The one I've got still works, it's got some tears in it. So I'm going to put it back together so I can complete the job short of replacing that mount. It'll get to that mount and swap it out sometime this coming week. And airbox, battery, a few plugs, and away we go. Well, all that's been about a week and a couple days. I didn't record the rest of buttoning that thing up because by then I was just kind of getting with it and wrapping it up. And it's pretty straightforward. I really wished I had. I don't really make how-to videos. Maybe that's something I should consider in the future. Mostly just kind of dragging you all along as I work on whatever I'm going to be tinkering on anyway. But the car's all together, runs and drives flawlessly. Did get that motor mount maybe 2 days later, it showed up. Nobody had that one in stock. They had all the others in stock, or I could buy the whole set. And it looks like someone may have changed the other ones. I don't know why they wouldn't have changed the one, but maybe they did one at a time, I don't know. Anyway, it runs, drives, shifts flawless. Better than when we bought the car a year ago or so, a year and a half ago. And she's all wrapped up. So this content kind of, but so anyway, that's a little bit of what I've been tinkering on for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, amidst the cold. And got a whole bunch of little sporadic things I'm dealing with right now. The tractor needs a little of this and a little of that, and can't wait to get back on Project 82. And the furnace I started working on 3 weeks ago is still not quite complete. So I don't know, maybe you'll see some of that pretty soon. But anyway, in the meantime, thanks for watching. Peace.